the reason I wanted to understand, because after 20 years, that's a great time. And again, learning, doing experiments after 20 years, you need to have a lot of energy. You need to have, that spirit to learn. So that's where I wanted to touch upon that question. And the other thing I wanted to ask, in this electromagnetic or mechanics or science, if anyone has any idea, for example, let's say our NRIs have any idea they wanted to put forward, so they will not be having that much knowledge on how to bring this idea into action. So what is your suggestion for those people who have great ideas in this area, and how can they nurture? And is there any help that you or your organization can give them an idea?
Well, science is a cooperative enterprise.
Okay.
That's very important to remember, okay? We all benefit from the scientific expertise and developments of others, okay? So once you realize that it's a cooperative enterprise, and I think faculty members at major universities are very cognizant of this fact, okay? Mm-hmm. So the best thing anybody can do in this, if they have an idea, is to actually send an email. I mean, it's so easy these days to contact a professor. So look up a close by university, look up department of XYZ, which you think is close enough. Okay, you will find faculty members, list of faculty members, emails, etc. If you don't find their direct emails, you will find the email of the chair of the department. Okay, and simply send them an email that I am XYZ, I have this idea, certain ideas, and could I have half an hour or 45 minutes to talk to a faculty member? Most likely that would be arranged.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Social media has made very easy to contact, but you need to know how to contact them and how you can funnelize them. Absolutely. So what is the major stand in your electromagnetics research?
Oh, that's what I said to you, electromagnetic fields in complex materials and nanomaterials, okay? And that's to examine the effect of microscopic morphology on how bulk materials perform. That's what I do mostly.
Absolutely. So the other area is nanotechnologies, right? So you have done good amount of research in this area. So tell us, our viewers, in a simple way, where they can understand what is the crux of it.
The crux really, as I said earlier, was that so nanoscale is about, give or take, between a few nanometers and a few hundred nanometers. Okay, 300 to 300 nanometers is considered common to say that, but one can make some variations here or there. Okay, all right. So matter at that scale behaves very differently. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that the surface area is very large compared to the volume.
Okay.
Okay. Surface area is very large compared to the volume. So you can think in terms of, you can think very simply like a cake. Mm-hmm. Okay. A cake has large volume, but the surface area is really small. But if you take the same cake and slice it into thin slices and then spread them on a table, and now the surface area is much larger, although the volume did not change. Okay, so think in terms of the amount of icing you would have to put. Okay, surface area is much larger. So the effects that take place at the surface level versus effects that take place at a volume, their relative importance changes. Okay. So what you can do is, by changing the morphology at the nano scale, you can change the way materials interact with, in my case, electromagnetic fields, okay, or with sound fields, okay, or with a bunch of electrons or neutrons. All those changes are possible, okay. And then when you look at this material, the bulk scale, because that is where many of our devices function, okay, but at a much larger scale, then you see the effects can be completely different than if we had never done this nanoscale morphology, okay. Going back to the idea of a cake, think about something like a linzer torte, which is made of thin slices, that are somehow glued together using chocolate. Okay, that kind of a cake is very different from a chocolate cake.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Nicely explained, Dr. Akhilesh. Then coming on to the technology now. So I know that every field is interrelated with the technology. Do you think any of the AI or ML technologies will make a difference in your research field, or did you use them?
That's a very good question. When I was a student, a graduate student even, there was really not much of talk about artificial intelligence or machine learning. Mostly people like Alvin Toffler, they wrote books about what will happen 30 years down the road or something like that. But at the university level, we really didn't talk much about these kinds of things. So I started to think about along these lines in early 1990s, published even a paper on that. But then that paper actually became obscure. I also had the idea of sculptured thin films at the same time, and that was a route that I took. But very recently, I had a PhD student graduate, and he actually applied machine language algorithms to predict the sensing responses of sculptured thin films of a certain kind. You see, as morphology becomes more and more complicated, it is not easy to say what its effects would be at the bulk scale.
Absolutely.
Okay, and this is where machine learning and artificial intelligence can play a major role. So I would say in the next 10 to 15 years, there will be a lot of work done in electromagnetic fields, which would actually rely on. Let me give you an example. Think of a chessboard. A chessboard has 64 squares, right?
Yes.
And let us suppose that we want to make a device in which each of these squares is either empty or has a coating of a certain material, just whatever material it is, right? So the number of choices, how many chessboards can we have? Well, for each square, you have a choice of either 0 or 1. 0 means no material, 1 means we have put one material, right? So you have two choices. So the number of chessboards that can be made is 2 to the power 64, which is an astronomically large number. Okay.
Wow.
There's nobody can do that many experiments, etc. Right? Okay. So can we use machine language algorithms to do this? We actually make a test case, make 200 or 2,000 test cases, some large number, but not very large. Okay, and then using that, can we predict which chessboard will serve our desired function the best? Okay, so when problems become so complex, so intricate, then machine level certainly offers us a way forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also think that more and more technology involves, then the researchers also should get into more and more complex algorithms. Absolutely. So now let's talk about more sustainability, right? Why did you add sustainability as a research focus, and what does sustainability mean to you in your area?
So that's sustainability. Let me begin by quoting Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay.
And this is a quotation that I saw on a stamp on Mahatma Gandhi that was issued by the United Nations. So, the world recognizes this, the importance of this. So he wrote, "The earth, the air, the land, and water are not an inheritance from our forefathers, but on loan from our children." Okay. Wow. That's a profound thought, that whatever we do today, we must preserve and perhaps enhance for future generations. So I think of sustainability as a process for simultaneous pursuit of human health, happiness, environmental quality, and economic well-being. But not only for us, not only for the current generations, but for future generations also. Okay. So I became aware of climate change about 15 years ago. My wife is a meteorologist, so it was difficult not to become aware of these issues around that time. Okay. Nowadays, I guess it is better to call it climate emergency. There are a plethora of indicators. Ice shelves are thinning, dead zones are increasing in the oceans. The frequency of catastrophic events keep on increasing, such as forest fires, storms, hurricanes, etc. So what we now need to do is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to about 12% in a very planned way by 2050, or critical indicators. And the one that is most commonly used is some sort of an globally averaged temperature. Okay. That temperature rise will exceed the threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius above the 1850 level. Okay. And we seem to be going there very rapidly, that the threshold will be exceeded. So about 10, 12 years ago or so, I said, there is something I should be able to do. Now, I'm not a meteorologist and I'm not a policy planner or anything like that. But I said, can I use electromagnetic fields? And yes, the answer was yes. And I decided to work on thin film solar cells to help create a low pollution source of readily available energy that can be deployed even in remote areas without the use of long transmission lines.
Wow.
Okay. So that is how sustainability became a research focus for me.
Wow. That's great to know, because when you talked about putting these thin film cells in the solar energy, right? So have you finished the research, or you are going to complete and implement it?
Well, we have very strong theoretical results which show that we can actually make thin films. We should be able to make thin films of compound semiconductors they have a property called band gap, and that the band gap should be graded in a certain way. And if we do that, then we can increase the efficiencies easily by a third to a fourth or so. Okay, so this means that we have the ability to at least design, thin film solar cells that can be put on walls, internal walls, external walls, and these can be generating energy from the sun if they are external, internal from the light sources that we have already. They can reharvest light and into electricity again. So these are possibilities. Now the real issue is, can we make these kinds of thin film solar cells economically? That is something that is outside my areas of expertise, and other people have to do that. But we have published a book very recently, my collaborators and I, about 2 years ago, in which we showed what are optimal band gap profiles. Now, we may not be able to achieve them, but if we come close to them, that should be good enough. Yes.
Absolutely. Now I understand, sustainability, why it should be a focus. And this also gives a thought, like every new research should also be thought from the climatic perspective and from the sustainability perspective as well. So do you have any mandate from any governing body which looks at all the new researches today?
Well, I mean, the White House has certainly taken a lead in it. In October, they issued a national security document, which is unclassified. And they identified 4 or 5 major national security issues. And the third one is climate emergency.
Wow, great to hear, Dr. Akhilesh. In the interest, I think we are getting to the edge of the time. In the interest of time, I have 3 questions which are very, very important, and I want your guidance on that. One is, what are the 3 life lessons that you wish to give to the secondary school children as well as the undergraduate students? This is very important from you. How do you give these lessons?
Well, the first thing I would tell is that secondary school children should find mentors.
Uh-huh.
Then later they should mentor others. Okay. Life is a cooperative enterprise as well. Okay.
Mm.
We live with each other. We don't live individually. It's okay. So
Absolutely.
find mentors and mentor others. The second is you should always observe. Okay, then learn from your observations and organize your observations. Okay. And that is the way to become innovative. If you don't look, you will not learn. If you don't learn, you will not organize. Okay. Okay. So all three are needed in some sequence. And then you can become really innovative and find solutions to problems that were seemingly impossible to solve. And the third is that ask questions, and certainly try to ask difficult questions. Okay. It's important to ask questions.
Mhm. Great. I really love the three things what you have told, and I'm sure that the viewers will definitely grasp some of them and then implement in their day-to-day lives. And one other question in this relevance, I would like to ask: in this science and mechanics, how are the opportunities? Because today, if you see, all the youth is going towards only IT, right? So, what is your message to them? What are the opportunities, and how do we ensure your career is in this?
Well, money is important,
Mhm.
very important, but it is not the most important thing. The most important thing in any life should be happiness.
Absolutely.
Be happy. Do whatever brings you happiness, but without harming others. Okay. If that, I think, is the guiding principle, it certainly has been my guiding principle. Okay. If that becomes your guiding principle, you will find the right things to do. Okay. So be happy without harming others, whatever brings you happiness. And you can chart your own path accordingly.
Absolutely. Definitely. I think you rightly said happiness is important. Then, whatever you have passion, cultivate that without harming others. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Then, the last two questions. One is: what is your ultimate goal? What do you want to accomplish in your life as a scientist? Or have you achieved already?
Well, science is never ending, it seems. So nobody can say they have achieved everything. No, 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 no. But you also come to terms with your own mortality. Okay.
Absolutely.
And well, research is a lifestyle. Let me say this: research is a lifestyle. So when it's a lifestyle, then it pervades your entire being. Okay. And I actually want I want to talk to young people as much as possible and tell them that it is important for them to preserve the biosphere on this planet, to preserve this biosphere, and that they should do this with as little perturbation as possible. So find ways in which each one of us can reduce our carbon footprint. I would like to spend the next 5, 10, 15 years that I have available as an active person, to bring that message to young people. Find ways to reduce your carbon footprint.
That's a great message, I think. And as you know, the carbon footprint is increasing day by day, and it's very interesting to see how we can reduce. Akhilesh, I think this will really help the youth. I'm glad that you are bringing this topic, and you are trying to educate, and you have next 5 to 10 years for that. Definitely, we have to do all together to keep our climate control and everything in control. So ultimately, what is your message to the community, NRI community or Indo-American community? What is your ultimate message for the young and also the already established people?
I've already said that. Be happy.
Be happy.
Be
Be
happy.
happy. Be
Be
happy.
happy. Be happy without harming others.
Right.
Do whatever will make you happy without harming others.